to do what is called check button, and the name alone should be more than enough to explain to you what it actually is. To check a button, check button, check a button. There's nothing really much. Another thing you should take note of, since it's a check button, since that button appears there, it can also be regarded as a common normal button that you make use of. So make sure to keep that in mind, because we are going to do something a little bit with it, so it won't get you confused. Remember, it's a button, so we can also perform some button commands on them. So how to create a check button? Since we have here, we imported everything from Tkinter, so we don't need to do what? We don't need to call that, and we don't need to import check button already. So this is what we did in our previous video, how we can create a file menu and then add some text to it and then do some other things on it. So to create a check button is basically simple. Check button, just simple as this. So let me put it in a variable so we can able to pack it on our screen. So I can say check underscore bt, and here is going, first parameter is going to take is that of our the name of the variable used to initialize our application. In our case, it was this main guy, so we're going to put main here. I remember interactivity must be inside of this container. Anything that I write outside here, then maybe down somewhere down here. That means, yeah, I think you're writing it for yourself. So the next thing we're going to do here, we can try to give it a test. So let me just give it a test. Like I said, it's just how normal button works. So normal button takes test too. So we can say here, we can say check one. Another thing we can do here is to do this multiple and multiple. So let me just create two check buttons. Let me just say the first one, the check one, and then let me copy this, put it here. Here is going to be check two, and here is going to be check two. So I just want to pack it to the screen. Do we use grid here? No, we didn't use grid, so we can just derivative pack it on our screen. So let me just copy this. So I can just pack it to the screen. Okay, so we can say check one dot what dot pack, and then we can say check two. This is our check two dot what dot pack. So let me move this. So here just go to the check button, we'll give it a test, check one, and then here is check two, and here is check one button, check two button, and then we'll pack it on the screen. So let's run it and see our output. Okay, as you can see here, check one, I can check it, check the second one, I can uncheck it, I can uncheck the second one. So you can see that we have created a basic check button, but this check button we don't actually know whether we checked anything on it or we didn't check anything on it. So I'm going to try to make it a little bit better by, in a case whereby somebody click on check, let's say check, and it's going to show that somebody check the button or move it, it's going to show that we unchecked this on this button. So that's basically what we are going to do here. Let me close out this. So before we can implement it, we need to create some function that is able to handle all these things for us. Okay, with this check button, one is clicked on this check button, two is clicked, we are going to create what is called a string variable, and what's going to hold our, sorry, we're going to create what's called int variable. I've talked about what these two guys, int and string. I've talked about these two guys in way detail in my previous video. The link will be in the down description below. So this int integer is going to be assigned here. So anytime we click on this, it's going to turn into one. That int is going to take a value. So to take a value, then we're going to check if there's any value that when we click on this, remember that this is a button, so when we click on it, something is going to happen. That int is going to be as if it's taking one. So I'm going to check if that if the int variable that we gave it is now one. If it's one, that means we clicked on it. If it's no longer one, that means we clicked on it. So I can say var1 is going to be variable one, and then we're going to say int what var. So I'm going to do for the second guy to say, let me just copy it. Both of them are going to be int. I've talked about these two guys, int and this stands for int variable, and this other the one I talked about comparing both of them was string variable. So the first one we're going to do is to create a function. Let me just say this checking. So here is going to take what is called the name and the what and the variable. I just shortened it to variable. Here I'm going to say if this variable, because this variable is directly talking about, here we're going to call this, I'm going to call it inside of this check button. So we're going to say if this variable that we gave here dot get. So I'm trying to get what the actual thing that was inputted on it. I thought we also use this get when we were trying to get entry and what is actually sent to the entry. So I'm going to say if it's equals to what 1. Here we're going to do something. So we're going to print okay, let me make an else string so we can say name. Sorry. Okay, let me now put it. Let me just say name that will give it is being what is being clicked. So we're going to be, let's say it's option 1. Let's say we give the name to the option 1. So option 1 is being clicked. So we can say else if it was not this thing, let's say if it was not equals to 1, we can say also here we can say sorry, that I done. We can say the name is not being clicked. So hope it's not confusing. If the variable is .get is equals to 1, that means we clicked on it. If it's not equals to 1, it's not being clicked. So we're going to create a function that is actually going to make use of this function to get the output for. So we can say clicked 1. So let me create them and let me give it def. So now we're doing function. So we're going to say click 1. Here we're going to make use of this checking. We're going to make use of it. Checking here, we're going to give it the name. Let's say the name I said to give it check 1, and the variable I'm going to give it I said to give it variable 1. So I'm going to do the same thing for that of checking 2. So I'm going to put 2 here. Then I'm still going to explain everything that is happening here. So here we're going to just call the functions. Here is going to be what command is going to be for our, since like I said, since it's a function on zero, so we're going to see what checking. So it's going to be checking what clicked. Be clicked. Here is going to be clicked 1, and then the other guy is going to be what? Here is going to be clicked 2. So let's run it and see our output. So and then I will explain everything that is going on here. Let's see. Let's look at this down in our console, our terminal down here. Let me bring it. So let me check here. You can see check 1 is being clicked, and then I move it. Check 1 is not being clicked. I click on 2. Check 1 is not being. What the? So where did the problem come from? Check 1 is not being clicked. Where did the problem come from? Sorry, I was supposed to put 2 here, but the name I gave it was the same thing. So I have to end this and then run it again. So let's see, where is the okay? Let's run it again. Check 1 is not being clicked. Okay, what is going on? It's not being clicked. Not being clicked. What is going on here? That I can see that is going on here. It can be a little bit tricky. So where is the problem coming from? Is get equals to 1 and then it's being clicked. If it's not equals to 1, that may not be clicked. Where is the problem coming from? Back to it. Okay, sorry, I forgot to put the variable that I want this button to take, because initially if this guy was equals to 1. So since when we click on this button guy, if let's say we click on it, this guy is going to be turned to 1, or this second guy is turned to 1. But this button is not actually inheriting that of the property like we said here. So we need to actually set the variable to be inheriting from this of the variable 1 or this of the variable 2, because currently right here, since it's not inheriting, I'm trying to get var is equals to 1. Since it's not inheriting, it's going to be automatically 0. And our station, if it's not equals to 1, this guy is going to happen, because while else is going to happen if it's not equals to 1. So what we are going to do here is to set our variable here. So we can say the variable that I want to set, since this is going on, let me drag this up. Since this is for this button 1 is for our VR1, since it's for this of the VR1, so we can set here to be our VR1. And so we're going to do the same thing for that of 2. So anytime we click on it, it's now going to be right. So anytime we click on this check button right here, here is now going to turn to what the output or what we send to this int variable. If you have not watched my video on this of int variable and string variable, we can also use string here, but I think we make use of int is more better. So anytime we click on it, int is definitely going to be a number rather than string. We'll have to start looking for the value that has been sent to that string, but I think int is better. So I think with this should solve our problem. So let's run it and see again. Let me close this and run again. Okay, so let's look down here. So when I click on this check one, you can see check one is being clicked down here. So now I'll click on it. So now check one is not being clicked. I click on this two, you can see check two is being clicked, check one is being clicked, and then I'll check, you can see check two is not being clicked, and then check one is not being clicked. So in this way we can actually create a 100% working check button that we can make use of. We're still going to make use of this guy pretty much, but we're still going to make it a little bit advanced. So we can actually, but with this we can actually know that if a button is checked or unchecked. With this we can actually maybe tell a user to fill a form that requires a person to check some buttons. We're going to check if the person didn't check it. Here is going to be the else condition is going to run. We can know that the user didn't check it or the user decided not to uncheck it. But here's a recap of what we did here. Here this guy shouldn't be hard for us to understand how we created a check button. This command was just checking this click one and click two. That's what this function was actually running. But this click one and click two was actually inheriting from and taking its function is commands from this checking. And what does this checking actually do? We are going to, it takes two parameters, which is the name and the variable. So this name, you can actually give it any name of your choice, but this variable here, we set the variable here, which is going to be our variable 1 and variable 2. Since this is also a button, so when we click on a button, there are actually two states that a button can be, which is that of 0 and 1. So if we didn't click a button, is 0. If we click on a button, is 1. I don't think this is hard to understand. So this variable here is going to take that. So when we click on this button, this variable here is going to take that 1, since it's being clicked, and then it's going to be stored there. So here is going to be 1. So when we call this check one, so when we call this, when we put this variable 1 here as putting the variable, so this function is going to check the variable, just like saying the variable 1 is inside, they're going to check the variable 1 is equals to 1. That means it's being clicked. So if we click it again, that means we unchecked it, and then it's going to go back to the starting positions, which is 0. If you are still getting to understand, don't worry, as we go on, I'm going to be sink into your head. It should be easy for us to understand. So I think this should be it for the video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. Also, like, I'm happy to see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.